Alright, hello, my name is Artsy Diaz's sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra, Karina. And we're in lesson 3, part 2. Babisa removed from the stroller a cute little fat baby with the eyes the color of amethyst. The baby was bald and he had a healthy orange coloration. This unusual skin color and the eyes marked the baby as a little goblin child. Babisa's father had bought the baby at a pet shop in Aragon. Most goblins were rather small, and they had a prolonged infancy, which meant that they were helpless for longer periods of time. It was only when they reached puberty that their facial features became more pronounced with longer noses and chins. Like all species, they were cuter when small, and as a Lady Babisa had been spending a lot of time alone, and with his mother working while his father was traveling the continent cracking down on all forms of slavery. Babisa eventually said, "I heard you got arrested." "Not really. It was more like I was sentenced right away, skipping arrest and trials too," said Karina. "Your brother's very strict with you, isn't he?" said Babisa. "Nah, he lets a lot of things slide, except when children are concerned. Ever since he became a mother, he has been like super mean about people who even touch the hair of his little kid," said Karina. Babisa did not question why Karina said mother instead of father. His mind had done the autocorrection, so he didn't see anything strange about the way Karina had said it. Babisa then said, "I will go to class, but only if I can bring periwinkle. The other classes don't allow me to take my little brother with me." That is something we overlook," said Karina mentally. She then informed her brother about it using telepathy, and then Marduke dropped everything he was doing in order to enforce a new regulation. From that day on, parents and siblings could take their small children with them, and if they acted out, they could just go outside for a bit. Eventually, a nursery was added to the school. Karina, after being distracted for a bit, she said, "All I know of little kids is that to get along with them, you have to have a strong sense of empathy and good memory. A lot of adults suffer from childhood amnesia. They put mental boundaries between themselves and their little brats. And what you must remember is that this kid is a person and not some puppet that must behave in a way that is convenient with you. Once you make peace with that idea, the rest becomes easy." Babisa heard this and he immediately forgot it. He was hoping for a practical advice, like how to get the baby to stop crying. In answer to his friend of mine, Karina added, "When all else fails, just wrap him up like a little burrito. It reminds the kid of the womb, and so he will calm down and feel safe unless he's like in pain or hungry. By and by, the class is going to take place in the library as before, only a little later." In this same fashion, Karina visited her original student. The following week, they all assembled in the last floor of the library. The interior of the classroom was decorated with cushioned chairs, and each one had a round ornamental baroque table. Instead of a pulpit, those things that people sit there, there was a Victorian cheap sofa with some cushions. The sitting portions of all the chairs had an embroidery theme, and there was about 5 of them, each themed after summer. Karina's chair had a floral pattern. The walls had a green wallpaper with golden leaf pattern. The floor had a red carpet, and only the wall behind Karina, the one with the window, differed. It had a painted mirror with some stylized people against a golden brown background like a medieval fresco. In Veragerung, realism was in style, so stylized people made the students chuckle. Janos, pointing at the mirror, asked, "Did you paint this?" "Yes," said Karina, proudly sitting on her sofa. Janos sat down and he placed his feet on top of the desk. The desk turned into an ottoman, and it made Janos jump up in fright. The ottoman chuckled, and then he stood up to sit beside Karina. "What is that?" asked Babisa. He is not a what. He is a person, and his name is Biglan," said Karina. She then said, "Would you like a refreshment? Some cookies, perhaps?" "Well, it is about that time that we normally have tea," said Carmela, sitting down. Karina dropped a nearby table, and as she dropped the table, it made a gary sound as it streaked across the floor. And on top of it, she placed a tray set with cookies of different sizes and tastes. Carmela asked, "Don't you have chocolate?" "Nah, because I don't need it. I only bother to cook things that I actually am gonna eat," said Karina. "Good for you," said Carmela, frowning. The students and teachers ate and chatted about absolutely nothing. After 15 minutes of not doing anything productive with their time, Karina said, Karina said. Well, it is about time I start class, I suppose. The students brought out the little notebooks and quills. Carmeta did not bother to do so because she was busy eating. She was well on her way to becoming the first fat elf in the kingdom. She had become quite sedentary as of late due to the peace she was enjoying. Her only true exercise came in the form of working with a bow and arrow at least once a week. She did it in part to fulfill the stereotype that all elves should be good with the bow. If she missed a shot, she would get quite the ribbon from the kids in the barracks and from her neighbors. Like you may or may not know, I have been doing community service for the last 2 years for my crime of negligence. I still have more to get done, but I now have a lot more leeway with my scheduling because I realized the nature of my crimes, explained Karina before she got interrupted. Isn't that a little overboard? If I had known that I would cause so much trouble that I was going to cause you so much trouble by trying to force you to stay at the bar, I wouldn't have done so, said Janet. Ah, so you did leave your junk behind on purpose, said Lucian. One thing is strangers, but your comrades, why would you use trickery to force them to do something they do not want to, asked Karina. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time, said Janet. It starts with small things, but then it eventually becomes a common behavior of a person trying to treat their friends. Given enough time, you have other people around you as little puppets. One thing is discouraging a bad behavior. Another thing is trying to control a fool, said Karina sternly. Janus can't help it. He is his father's son, said Babiso. That is no excuse. If it was up to most parents, they would have obedient little copies of themselves. Very few know just how lucky they truly are to be allowed to raise a new individual in this world, said Karina, looking at the little baby periwinkle. Time?
7 minutes.
Jan was about to speak, but his thoughts were interrupted by the door opening. Inside the classroom entered a middle-aged man named Miko. Miko was a wandering alchemist who was trying to create an antidote to the elixir of immortality. The first functioning elixir had an unknown impurity, so he was never able to replicate it. The one he had created just made him ageless, but illness was still a bother, as well as the good old-fashioned arrow to the face. He would have killed himself years ago, except that his religion taught him that suicide was a mortal sin. The only way he was allowed to die was through sickness or by violence. A bit superstitious in his ancient age, he knew that his god would not be fooled if he neglected his health, or if he picked a fight he knew he could not win. He was found by a dragon riders in an island, and now he lived and worked as a healer in Veragerung. He had heard from Babisel about Karina, so he had nothing better to do with his eternal life. So he decided to see the princess. Miko had ebony skin, pronounced cheekbones, small, expressionally black eyes, a refined nose, thin lips, and a short beard and black hair. The top of his head was somewhat balding, and his forehead had many lines from overthinking. Truth be told, he was looking for any distraction from his own immortality. Like the elves, the longer he lived, the more he was afraid of dropping dead, but the more he yearned for it. Miko was dressed in the fashion of the day, with the frock coat, the pants that went as low as the knees, the socks, and the fluffy shirt with the silly ornamental hat feather. Karina smiled when she saw her new student. She reached under her cloak and she brought out a transcript of her first 2 lessons and the conversation that had been spoken by her student. She then said to Miko, "This should get you up to date on the last 2 lessons, which reminds me, I better get started already." Vilka brought out a drawing board from another room, and on it he drew an owl and the most beautiful moth in the world. Karina told her students the story of redemption and how she was able to see the arrows away after seeing the moth interacting with the owl. At the end of the story, she said, "The moth scenario relates to the laws 31 and 419. You will understand them when you read the book or whatever." The students departed confused, and Jano said to Miko while going down the stairs, "No, that was definitely different." I think she wants to teach like Aesop, said Miko. "Who is Aesop?" asked Janus. "Just some guy from a book I rarely remember. It was just such a long time ago," said Miko, sighing. "Time, bro?"
5 minutes.
Before leaving the classroom, Karina lingered a bit. She had noticed a letter left on top of her desk. She stared at it long, looking quite pensive. Vinka picked up the letter and he read it over the top before giggling. Karina could read his mind, but she chose not to. She turned the letter around and then she wrote, "Whatever it is you have to say it to my face, coward." Wrinkler received the correspondence and then he went about to deliver the letter. Not because Karina asked him to, because he had nothing better to do with his time and he was itching on getting a bit of sunlight. Alright, this is the end of the chapter.